following the 2011 Mumbai bombings, which killed 26 and injured 130 people, Dr. Subramanian Swamy wrote an article titled "How to Wipe Out Islamic Terror" in a newspaper called Daily News and Analysis. The article was published on July 16, 2011. After the publication of this article, a lot of intellectuals came out in the open and stated that this particular article was communally sensitive and it was not appropriate on Dr. Swamy's part to write such an extremist article. Harvard University, where Dr. Swamy used to teach economics, they expelled Dr. Swamy and because they believed that such kind of hate mongers should not be allowed to teach in such a prestigious university. In October 2011, the Delhi police filed an FIR against Subramanian Swamy. But in January 2012, Dr. Subramanian Swamy was granted bail on the condition that he would not write such articles in the future. However, the larger question pertains to analyzing the content of Dr. Swamy's article. The question is, the measures which Dr. Subramanian Swamy suggested to tackle Islamist terror, were they apt or were they uncalled for? A large portion of this particular article was influenced by Dr. Swamy's book, Hindus Under Siege. I personally feel that the fundamental problem with Dr. Swamy's diagnosis of Islamist terror is that he believes only the Hindu is the target and the Hindus should rise up and combat Islamist terror. Islamist terror is a national problem. It's something which endangers our national security. And all Indians, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Parsis, Hindus, Jains, Jews, all of us should come together and combat this menace, and not only Hindus. Dr. Swamy had wrongly prophesied in his article that by 2012, Taliban would seize control of Pakistan and Americans would flee Afghanistan. We are in December 2013 and Taliban is yet to seize control of Pakistan and Americans are yet to exit from Afghanistan. So many of the predictions which were made in Dr. Swamy's article, they turned out to be wrong. However, Dr. Swamy, he came up with he stated 4 or 5 goals of Islamist militants and he suggested strategies in order to combat those particular goals. He said that goal 1 of Islamist militants was to take away Kashmir from India. And in order to prevent the militants from taking away Kashmir from India, India needs to do away with Article 370, abrogate Article 370. We need to create Panan Kashmir, resettle ex-servicemen in the valley, and if Pakistan continues to aid terror activities against India, then we need to start supporting liberation groups in Balochistan. So basically, I will make 2 points over here, very quick 2 points. A lot of us, including Dr. Subramanian Swamy, we disagree with the idea of Pakistan because Pakistan is based on an exclusionary idea. The two-nation theory stated that Hindus and Muslims are 2 separate nations and therefore they cannot live together. We disagreed with that particular idea and we felt that Hindus and Muslims, they are not 2 separate nations, they are 2 separate communities, but they can live together as one nation. On one hand, you are rejecting the idea of Pakistan, but on the other you are supporting something which is very similar to Pakistan, that is Panan Kashmir. What does the idea of Panan Kashmir state? The idea of Panan Kashmir states that Kashmiri Hindus and Kashmiri Muslims cannot live together, and hence the state of Jammu and Kashmir should be bifurcated into 2 parts. One part would belong to Kashmiri Muslims and the other would belong to Kashmiri Hindus. I don't think so this is a feasible idea, and I believe that all those who disagree with the idea of Pakistan should apply the same yardstick while scrutinizing the idea of Panan Kashmir and should also reject it. Secondly, if one country is wrongfully making use of terrorism and is using terrorism as its foreign policy, then it does not mean we also indulge in the same kind of irresponsible activities by aiding Baluchi insurgents. The whole problem of Kashmir can be solved and has to be solved diplomatically. We need not take up arms against Pakistan in order to deal with this particular problem. The second goal of Islamist militants, according to Dr. Subramanian Swamy, is to target Hindu devotees and destroy Hindu temples. He says what we need to do, what Hindus specifically need to do, is that they need to remove the mosque at Kashi Vishwanath and 300 other mosques which are allegedly which were allegedly built after destroying Hindu temples. Now, if this particular advice of Dr. Subramanian Swamy is taken seriously, then it would mean more Babri mosque demolition incidents, more Babri Masjid demolition like incidents in India. See, when Muslim invaders came inside India, undoubtedly there was a lot of iconoclasm. Several Hindu temples were razed to the ground and mosques were built. The best way of dealing with this particular issue is by taking such matters to the courts of law and allow the law to take its own court. Let the court decide whether a temple was destroyed. Okay, was the mosque built after destroying the temple? What we need to do now? How do we divide the land? Whom the land belongs to? So on and so forth. Dr. Swamy, mentioned in his article that when terrorists attacked on the site where the Babri Masjid used to stand, Hindus should have retaliated by rebuilding the Ram Janmabhoomi. Now, the whole dispute concerning Ram Janmabhoomi, it is sub judice. I don't think so. It is in anyone's favor to act in such an irresponsible manner and forget about the law and start building temples at sites which are disputed. So let the law decide where to build what. Let's not get into that. This will not at all help us in solving the problem of Islamist terror. In fact, after the demolition of Babri Mosque, a lot of Muslim youth fell for Muslim extremism. So such incidents, they actually create Islamist militants rather than preventing Muslim youth from becoming Islamist militants. So let us not indulge in these kind of activities. Dr. Swamy further states the third goal of the Islamist militants is to turn India into an Islamic state. And what we need to do, what Hindus need to do, is that they need to vote with a Hindu mindset and they need to rise above caste and linguistic barriers and vote for a genuine Hindu party which will make India or turn India into a Hindu Rashtra. Now this Hindu Rashtra would be renamed as Hindustan, which is a country of Hindus and those whose ancestors were Hindus. He says that the singing of Vande Mataram should be made compulsory, learning of Sanskrit should be made compulsory, and all non-Hindus, they should proudly proclaim their Hindu ancestry, and if they don't do so, they should not be allowed to vote and they should not have the right to be elected to public offices. India does not wish to be Hindu Saudi Arabia. These kinds of things are associated with very conservative and theocratic regimes. India is a secular country, and the strength of India's plurality and diversity is its principal asset. You cannot do away with India's heterogeneousness and create a theocratic state. You are opposing Pakistan, which is a theocratic state, but on the other hand you want to create a theocratic state of your own. So this is again very hypocritical on Dr. Subramanian Swamy's part to suggest such suggestions, and these things will do nothing apart from strengthening Islamist militants, because the moment you start discriminating against a section of people, be them Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, whatever, they will become radicalized, and you don't want them to become radicalized. So the moment you start discriminating against them, you gift the terror organizations a chance to get new recruits, and these terror outfits can be Muslim, they can be Sikh, they can be Christian, they can be in Punjab, they can be in the Northeast, or they can be in Kashmir. The fourth idea, or the fourth goal of Islamist militants, which Dr. Subramanian Swamy talks about, is concerning the demographics of India. He says that, Islam, it wants to complete unfinished business with Hinduism, because wherever Islam went, within 2 decades of Islamic rule, 100% of the people converted to Islam. But undivided India in 1947, bulk of its population, majority of its population, they happen to be Hindus. So now, attempts are being made to convert Hindus, and a lot of illegal immigrants from Bangladesh are coming into the territory of India and changing the demographics of our nation. So Dr. Subramanian Swamy suggests that we need to make conversions from Hinduism completely illegitimate. We need to ban conversions from Hinduism, but conversions from other religions like Islam to Hinduism, Christianity to Hinduism, Sikhism to Hinduism, Zoroastrianism to Hinduism, all such conversions should be allowed. This is very similar to what happens in Saudi Arabia. You can convert to Islam, but you cannot convert from Islam. If you convert from Islam, then you get death. So again, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Subramanian Swamy's plan is to convert our plural and diverse country into, the Hindu version of Saudi Arabia. And those citizens of India who abide by the constitution, they would certainly not like this idea. Dr. Swamy further says that, since a lot of people are coming from Bangladesh into India, let us invade Bangladesh, annex a certain portion of their territory and accommodate their illegal immigrants over there. This sounds very similar to the Nazi concept of Lebensraum, and they wanted living space to accommodate all the Germans. I don't think so that's a feasible idea. It's a very aggressive idea. The best way of dealing with this problem is to locate such, illegal immigrants and deport them. We don't need to get into wars over such small things. So, an entire analysis of Dr. Subramanian Swamy's article, it shows to us that Dr. Subramanian Swamy was being extremely communal while dealing with the problem of Islamist terrorism. All that he was talking about was, how Hindus should get together, how they should vote for a Hindu party, how we need to convert India into a Hindu Rashtra, how we need to ban, conversions from Hinduism, and the strategies which he mooted, they would help in promoting Islamist terror. They would get Islamist terror outfits more recruits rather than preventing Muslim youth from falling into terrorism. So my humble plea to Dr. Subramanian Swamy is, hate hurts, harmony works. Kindly get over this kind of, communal hate mongering, and let us come together. India is an extremely plural and diverse country. Let us celebrate our diversity. Let us celebrate our heterogeneousness.